Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. Starting with Amud Beis, 8 lines from the bottom. After the Kohen Gadol is toivel in the mikvah, and he then changes into his big day Zohav, they bring him the lamb, the keves, for the Korban Tomei Shel Shachar. The Mishnah states, Heviu lo es hatomei krotzoi. Ask the Gemara, my krotzoi. What is meant when it says krotzoi? The Kohen Gadol takes it and it's krotzoi. Amar ula lishna de katolahi. It's a lashon of killing the animal, a form of shchita. Being sheichit. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak, my kro. What's the pasuk that indicates krotzoi is a lashon of killing? Agola yafyafia mitzrayim keretz. Mitzofoin bovo. Ask Gemara, what's the mashmos of this pasuk? My mashma, kimitargem Rav Yosef, Malko Yoi Hava Mitzrayim. The kingship, the kingdom of Mitzrayim is Yoeh. Amomim ketoilin mitzifoino yesun alo. The nations referring to Bavel will come from the north to kill the kingdom of Mitzrayim. So we find that krotzoi is a lashon of killing. The krotzo bekama. What are we talking about when we talk about killing? In terms of how much does he have to shecht? Omar ulo beroiv shnayim. The roiv of the two of the trachea and the esophagus. V'chein omar b'yoichanon, and similar b'yoichanon is the beroiv shnayim. So the requirement that's performed for the shechita is the roiv of the simonim, the trachea and the esophagus. Even Reish Lakish agrees that over here by the Kodshim, it also is like that which it is by a Chulin Shchita, which is Roiv of Shnayim. After we're taught in regards to Shechting Chulin, it says Rubai Shel Echod, the Roiv of one is Kamo, is like Shechting, is like completing the entire thing. So then, Lama Shaninu Roiv Echad Ba'oif Roiv Shnayim Bebehema. Why does it repeat and teach that the Roiv Echad is Ba'oif, which is required by the Oif, and the Roiv Shnayim is required by the Behema? We know that once it's Roiv is Kamoihu, so then we know that one, the Roiv of one is one, and the Roiv of two is two. Answer Reish Lakish Lefi Shaninu, because we're taught in our Mishnah, Hey Viu Lo Yas HaTami, they bring the Korban Tomei, the keves to the Kohen Gadol. Krotzoi umeirak acher shchita al yodoi. He is krotzoi, he shechs, which is roiv, and then another kohen completes the shchita for him. V'kibel es hadam v'zorkoi. He's mekabel adam, immediately the Kohen Gadol, in a kli, and then he walks to the mizbech and he's zorek the dam on the mizbeach. Yocham, I think, lo yimeirak yehe posul. I might think if he is not another kohen to be meirek to complete the shechita, then it's posul. Yachol lo meirek yehi posul. Ask the Gemara, you will think that would be posul. What's the havamina? In kain havya le avoida ba'acher. It would mean that there's another avoida. The rest of the avoida is done by a kohen acher, and we know that's not possible. Disnan for teachers in the Brisa really. Kol avoida is Yom Kippurim einan ksheros ela boy. The kohen gadol must perform all of the avodas of the Yom of Yom Kippurim. So it cannot be such a possibility that another avodah would be done by a non-kohen. By another kohen. So Gemara says, no, hochikon, this is what is meant. Yachol ye posul midrabanan. If the other kohen who completes the shechita, I might think if he does not do that, it's posul midrabanan, on top of Lamed Gimel with Aleph. Lekach shaninu roiv echod be'oif Rov Shnayim Bebehema. For that, it teaches us Roiv Echad Ba'oif Rov Shnayim Behema is talking about Kodshim. V'chi ma'achad afilu psula midrabanon leka, says the Gemara. But once we now know that it's not even possible midrabanon, so for what purpose do we need another kohen after the Kohen Gadol severs Roiv of the esophagus and the trachea of the Kodshim over there? We're saying it's completely a shechita. So then, why do we need another kohen to then complete the shechita? Lama li lemorek. Answers Gemara, mitzvah lemorek. we have a mitzvah for him to be morek because it allows the rest of the dam to come out more easily, and then allowing the Kohen Gadol to mekabel all of the dam. Abaye, says the Gemara, is going to bring for the next daf of Gemara the seder of the Avodas Hayoim, and it's going to connect it back to our Mishnah. Beginning with this, Abaye Mesade Marocha Mishmei de Gemara. Abaye, he arranged the avodah of the daily avodah in the name of the Chachamim and the Beis HaMedrash, who had a Mesorah from their Rabbeim. Ve'aliba da Abba Shol, this all goes according to Abba Shol, which we explained there was a machlokes earlier on. And Abba Shol, in the first parak, he holds that the Hatovas HaNeiros comes before the Ketores. Now, explains Abaye the order. Ma'arocha gedoyla kodemes le'ma'arocha shniya shel Ketores. The large pyre, which is referring to the Mizbeach HaChitzoin, that precedes the preparation of the pyre, the second pyre of the Ketores, which is on the next to the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach, a little bit Daled Amos north of that. Ma'arocha shniya shel Ketores kodem the sidor shnei gezirei eitzim. The second ma'arocha pyre for the Ketores precedes then the avodah the shnei gezirei eitzim, the two logs that are put on the pyre of the Mizbeach HaChitzoin. V'sidor shnei gezirei eitzim kodem l'disha Mizbeach HaPnimi. Those two logs precede the taking away of the ashes of the inner Mizbeach, the golden Mizbeach of the Mizbeach HaKetores. V'disha Mizbeach HaPnimi kodem lahatovas chamesh neiros. That precedes the cleaning out of 5 neiros of the menorah, also in the Heichal. V'hatovas chamesh neiros kodem l'dam hatomid. That cleaning out of the menorah, those 5 neiros, precedes the avodas hadam of the korban tamid. V'dam hatomid kodem lahatovas shtei neiros. The dam hatomid, that precedes the cleaning out of the additional 2 neiros of the menorah. V'hatovas shtei neiros kodem leketoros, and that precedes the Ketores. Again, this is the sheet of Abba Shol. The Ketores koidem le'evorim. The Ketores precedes the burning of the evorim of the korban tamid. That's on the Mizbeach HaChitzoin. The evorim lemincha. That precedes the mincha that goes with the korban tamid. Umincha lechavitin. And the mincha before the chavitin. The chavitin is the korban mincha of the Kohen Gadol, daily korban mincha in the morning and the afternoon. The chavitin nisochin, which precedes the libations. The nisochin the musafim of Shabbos, that precedes the musafin. Musafin the zichin. The shulchan has the lechem aponim and also shtei bezichin. The bezichin is filled with the frankincense, the levoino, which is burned on the mizbeach. Ubezichin the tamid shel ben harboim, that precedes the korban tamid shel ben harboim. Shneimar says in the pasuk v'hiktir aleha chelvei hashlomim. And there it's talking about shlomim, but the Gemara makes a drasha on shlomim that's be hashleim, it should be completed. As follows: aleha hashleim, on it you should complete kol karbonos kulon. That means all of the karbonos should be on the korban tamid shel shachar, meaning all of the karbonos of the day shall then come after the korban tamid shel shachar, but the korban tamid shel ben harboim should be the very last, nothing after that. Omar Mar, the Gemara brings back this order that was just stated by Abaye, Ma'arocha gedoyla kodemes le'ma'arocha shniya shel Ketores. The first thing, and by the way, we're not speaking about the Trumas Hadesh, which will be even before, because that's a avodah that's performed at night, and sometimes we mentioned in the Mishnah as earlier as Chatzos, or even at the end of the first Ashmura, if it's going to be a Yom Tiv. So here we begin with the first of the daily avodah, which is the Ma'arocha Gedoyla, and precedes the Ma'arocha Shniya of the Ketores. Ask the Gemara, Minola, from where do we know? What's the source that we first prepare the Ma'arocha Gedoyla before the Ma'arocha Shniya? The Tanya says in the Brisa, He ha'oila al moikdo al mizbeach kol halayla. The pasuk I'll read you in its entirety. Tzav es Aaron ve'ezbonov leimor. command Aaron and his children, Zois Teras ha'oila, hi ha'oila al moichido, al ha-mizbeach kol ha-laila ad ha-boiker, ve'ish ha-mizbeach tukad boi. So the Brisa brings this pasuk and brings as follows. Hi ha'oila al ha-moichido, al ha-mizbeach kol ha-laila. The first part of that pasuk states that you'll bring up the offering on the pyre all night long. Zu marocha gedoyla. It's talking about the marocha gedoyla. The latter part of the pasuk, the eish hamizbech tukad boy, the fire will continue to burn on the pyre. Zu marocha shniya. This is the second pyre, shel kitaris. Ask the Gemara, ve'ipuch ana. Let me switch around the order and say that the marocha shniya is what's referred to when it says in the first part of the pasuk, ala moikta ala mizbeach, and the second part of the pasuk when it says eish hamizbeach tukad boy, talking about the marecha gedoyla. Answers the Gemara, mistabro the marecha gedoyla adifa shekain kaparosa meruba. It's mistaber that the first one that's mentioned is the marecha gedoyla, the big marecha, which is referring to, of course, the pyre of the outer mizbeach. That's the main marocha where all of the korbanos are burnt, with the exception of the kitaris, and therefore all the kaporos are being done through that. So that should take precedence. Ask the Gemara, Adarabbo, marocha shni adifa shkein machnisi mimenu lifnim. But there's a svar to say that the second pyre, which is used for the kitaris, should take precedence because that is going to then be brought for the fire on the inner mizbeach in the heichal. Answer the Gemara, afilu hoche kaparasa meruba adifa. Still, since the outer mizbeach, again, all of the karbonos are burned there, with the exception of the ketares, since therefore it's going to have all of the kaporos, that will then take precedence. The boy same alternatively can say iloi mishkach eitzim lemarocha shniya. If you don't find eitzim, enough coals for the marocha shniya, enough of the eitzim, where's it going to come from? Miloi mile me marocha gedol. Is it not going to then be brought from the bigger pyre on the mizbeach itself? So therefore, even those woods that will ultimately then be brought to the second pyre, sometimes those itself will be used to be brought in the heichal for the inner mizbeach. So therefore, certainly we will then use the outer mizbeach to take precedence. Marocha shniya shel kitares kodemes lesidva shnei gezirei eitzim. It states over here, Abayi's order, again according to Abba Shol, is that, this part is according to everybody, that the second marocha that's going to be for the kitares will precede the two logs that are put on the main pyre on the mizbeach. Minolon, from where do we know this is the order? Dichsiv. It states in the pasuk, ubier alea hakohen eitzim baboiker baboiker. And from there we learn out, from it says ubir aleho hakohen, the kohen will then burn on it, aleh v'loy al chaverta, on it it will burn, referring to that mizbeach, and not on its friend. That means to say that it's going to be burned, it's going to be put on it, the arrangement of the two logs, and that implies v'loy al chaverta. Says the Gemara, Michlal di isa lechaverta. It's mashma then that there is a chaverta. That means that instead of putting it on the second pyre, put it on the main pyre, the two logs, which means that the second pyre precedes, of course, then the two logs. Ask the Gemara, but we need to teach me aleh, that you place the two logs on it and not on the sides. So therefore, you can't make a drasha aleh v'lo al chaverta to teach me that the second pyre precedes the two logs. Maybe the two logs precedes the second pyre. Answers the Gemara, Trei aleh ksive. The pasuk states aleh more than once in the pasuk. Now the Gemara says, Sidi shnei gezirei eitzim koiden ledisha mizbeach hapnimi. The order by putting the two logs precedes the cleaning out of the inner mizbeach. It says baboker in both places, both in regards to the kitaris, as well as regards to the two logs, the gezirei eitzim. Afilu hoch is still machshir odif, but since the two logs are a machshir, that takes precedence, and therefore that precedes the cleaning out of the inner mizbech of the ketaris. Machshir ma'nihu, but ask the Gemara, machshir, what is this a machshir of? Shnei gezirei eitzim. The machshir is shnei gezirei eitzim. The shnei gezirei eitzim is going to be a machshir of the bigger pyre. They'll then produce the fire of the outer mizbeach. Ask the Gemara, amri shnei gezirei eitzim the ma'arocha gedola azli. Behold, you said that the shnei gezirei eitzim goes on the outer bigger pyre. What does that have to do with being a machshir for the ketaris, which is the inner, for the inner mizbeach, for the second pyre for the inner mizbeach? Rabbi Yirmiyahu said shum eitzim, that the shtei gezirei eitzim is considered to be eitzim, therefore it's a machshir, and that itself then has this name eitzim, which is a machshir, which will always be preceding then that which for itself, and therefore the shnei gezirei eitzim, although it can be used for the for the large pyre on the outer mizbeach, but nonetheless, therefore, it's still a machshir that is considered to be preceding, taking precedence before the cleaning out of the inner mizbeach. Ravina Omar, a different answer. Once you're beginning with the ma'arocha of the outer mizbeach, so therefore that should be continued, and therefore that precedes then going to then clean out the inner mizbeach. Rav Ashi Omar, Rav Ashi has a third mahalech. If you don't find eitzim ultimately for the marocha shniya, so where's it going to come from? Are you not going to bring eitzim from the marocha gedola, which ultimately also, if it's not going to be used by the shnei gezirei eitzim, the two logs itself, but still it'll be eitzim from that marocha, and therefore shnei gezirei eitzim precedes the cleaning out of the inner mizbeach.